Okay. Hello, I am Alan Ling, and I am the co-creator of Annabelle and the Cannibal. And as you can see here, I have Wallace Blim, and Wallace is the cannibal in my creation, comic book creation. And you can see the typical Asian knife, cooking knife, along with the head of the person he just cut off, and that's Walter. And someone asked me, how'd you come up with the Wallace character? And honestly, someone said, I think that's you in the 5th grade, hot belly and all. And I didn't argue with him. It might have been right, maybe not. But okay, let's say Wallace was kind of me, but not really. I don't think so. Okay, and we have the lovely Annabelle, and Annabelle's got some curves. Yes, she's a lovely person inside and out. And someone asked me, how did you come up with that character? And I have a confession to make. I actually have a bonus daughter who happens to also be someone who I talent managed down in LA in Hollywood. Her name is Patil Sharon Mahari. And she's the muse. So you can see that's her. Yep. And bottom picture, definitely kind of like Annabelle. So I guess she was kind of my muse, and I came up with the character right around the time that she and I began working together, helping her with her career down in as an actress or actor down in Hollywood. So and again, we have a very nice relationship, father-daughter, not the Woody Allen kind of father-daughter, just nice father-daughter kind of thing. It's been great, and I think she's flinching right now, probably while she's seeing this happening. So, Alan, you're not supposed to let them know it was me that was your muse, and you came up with this character. And it wasn't actually, to be honest with you, the actual character as Annabelle, emotionally, behaviorally, and intellectually has nothing to do with Patil at all. Patil's super smart, knows a gazillion languages, good Christian person, never curses, amazing. Annabelle's not quite like that. So anyhow, so that's my story behind just basically how I got started with this idea. Now, the cannibal idea, to be honest with you, came about as kind of a Dexter thing. Remember Dexter, the mass killer on TV, and kills only bad mass murderers, and he himself is a mass murderer. So it kind of came from that, watching Dexter with my second former wife, and that was kind of an interesting thing. That's some of the things that shaped this idea. And the whole cannibalism thing came in because I tried to go vegan one time. I couldn't do it. I liked meat way too much. I just like to eat meat. And so I went and gone, well, let's take it a step further, and let's venture into the whole cannibal idea. So that said, I started trying to figure out how should I do this cannibal thing? How am I gonna present the story? And I thought it would be great to do a love story. And so, and we should make it funny. And if you notice this, the characters kind of look like Archie comics kind of characters, and that Zach Atkinson, who is the line artist and colorist, we decided that is the way to go, so that when we actually do Annabelle the Cannibal as a comic book, it's not so horrific. So people will be able to take it in a little bit more. That looks funny, and we can kind of go from there. So Anyway, so I'm going to show you some pages from Annabelle and the Cannibal. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Vengeance Vixen a little bit later on. That's the part 2 of the Annabelle and the Cannibal and Vengeance Vixen. They're together in one comic book. And I'll tell you a little hint why we put them together. But I'm going to show you some pages right now. So give me a second here. All right. So the cover is the cover, and great cover by Zach Atkinson, the artist. And again, lines, the inks were detail work was done by Jeremiah Lambert, who happens to also do the layout and the lettering. He did a fantastic job on both. And of course, Zach did a fun job here. Okay, so that's the cover. And yeah, what I decided to do something very interesting. I put I made a recipe, and here's the recipe of how do you cook a person over kind of a rotisserie. And what I did was I took a recipe off the internet for pork roast over rotisserie, and I just multiplied all the ingredients times, it's for like 2 or 3 pounds of meat, so I multiplied times 50. So there's like, instead of half a garlic clove, there's 30 garlic cloves, and so that was kind of my way of cooking. And then salt, cut it up. It sounds great when you're cooking a pork roast, but it's just gruesome when you're thinking that you're cooking a person that way. So, all right. So it starts out simply enough. You got, a nice couple just kind of walking in the park, and of course, look at that. There's Wallace with his big old giant machete, and these poor, unaware, cute characters, and then all of a sudden, I gotta edit some of the stuff out, but he kills them. And you can see the head there. Don't want to show too much of the body parts there. Sorry about that. Anyway, again, if you're under 18, you shouldn't be watching this at all. So parents, get your kids out of there. Anyways, we have, Wallace here. He's, you don't know what he's cutting, but it turns out someone's gluteus maximus there. And yeah, he's really happy. And of course, I don't know if you guys can see this, but Zach put in a little lobster bib on that guy. There he is. He's having a good drink. And how's the rump roast? Anyway, dialogue. So we go flashing back when he was a young kid and he loved meat, eats that meat. And then he's a young adolescent. It's like, wow, what other things could I do? And he learns how to, comes from a life of privilege. Parents were, killed in a weird car accident. He inherited billions of dollars, so he can buy guns and have people train him to do all sorts of stuff. And so he buys like the biggest, like a 50 caliber sniper rifle, and he goes and he shoots stuff. And this is one of my favorite pages. So you can see he shoots every kind of animal because he is curious to see what they taste like. So we got a harpoon going through the tortoise there, but all these endangered species, giraffe and a poor panda with a little piece of bamboo. That's another Zach Atkinson touch. And of course the dolphin with the eyeball popping out, the cute bunny and the monkey, and every cute animal, every endangered species gets basically blown away for meat. So again, next little cute story goes to Indonesia, where of course you still have cannibals who are still around, and so they give him a taste of human flesh. And yes, of course, he's Now he's fantasizing. You see all the weird pieces of handburger, H-A-N-D, then noses and tongues and eyeballs. And he's drooling. He's fantasizing about what to eat. Now he's back on the plane. He's flying home from Indonesia. His stomach is so full of all sorts of human whatever. And, oh Lord, he just realizes, where is he going to get all that meat? Where is he going to get human flesh? And of course, plenty of human flesh. Look at that plane. It's like a cattle car. So, yeah. Anyway, where's Annabelle? People are asking, when's Annabelle going to show up? Well, she just shows up on the next page. So so he's at the meat market. Natural, organic meat. And of course, he still eats normal meat. Doesn't just eat people meat. So he's there. There's lots of choices. Of course, and Annabelle shows up, and she interrupts him, and he takes a good look at her, and holy moly, you can see he's all like, "Wow, she's really something else." And I don't want to go over the dialogue; it's not necessary, but you could see what he's looking at. Yep, and he's not the kind of, like, again, he's not after her. Okay, he's after her body, but he's after her body for not the typical reasons as some heterosexual dudes are. So we, go through the shopping, and it's a kind of a love story. Yeah, they're kind of hanging out. He tells her what kind of meat to eat and what to shop for, and then they kind of split apart, and they go in the parking lot, and she just says, that guy's something about him. And then there's the old, oh, Wallace, and then one thing leads to another. They have this nice little conversation going on. And she invites him over to show him how to cook meat. And, just, so there they are. He's cooking on her barbecue grill, which is bigger than his barbecue grill. And she goes, "Oh, I just love your passion for cooking," and all that good stuff. And of course, they are eating, and it's really good. Of course, he's a great cook, and anyway, the best way to a person's heart is through their stomach. This is what they say. And so, whoops. Anyway, she adores him. He's just a really nice guy. They don't talk a whole lot though, but as you can see here, something does happen. She really's into Wallace. Wallace, actually didn't try to kill her or do anything. He actually kind of likes her. And I'm not going to show you the last page because you have to buy the comic book. So anyway, all right. So get on the story. And it's kind of like the Kill Bill kind of thing. You can see it's a pretty, art was done by Manuel Martinez, and the colors by Zach Atkinson again. I think Victor Moya did the inks, and Manuel Martinez did the pencils. And maybe he did, but maybe Manu did everything. I can't remember now. So anyway, so Vengeance Vixen. Where did I get that idea from? And I did date this woman who was like, she was like a boxing wrestler type person, and she could be my bodyguard. And I, actually, I was kind of her. I did the pads thing. She was boxing. She's, hitting the pads, and she hit so hard. I think she almost broke my hand through the pad. She was that strong. And I didn't want to make anything of light of her, her past or anything. But the kind of the super strong woman who could fight and take vengeance out on people. I think that was that kind of came from that person. So anyway, yeah. So next, like the story actually came about as this random story I wanted to do, only because I wanted to make it kind of leading up to this gag at the end of the comic. And it was a very, very brutal, brutally real kind of drawn story of a woman who had been kidnapped and gang raped and beaten up and everything, and her body tossed out of a van and discarded, and somehow people were able to she was able to find I think help with by this other doctor who happened to be this kind of sex maniac in her own right, and she wanted to actually rehabilitate Diane, which is the name of the character, to be like her own sexual gratification object. And tables are turned on the good doctor, and now that Diana uses her to basically use her resources to go after and get revenge on the guys who actually beat her up and left her for dead. And so I'm going to go over a few pages. I mean, swipe through a bunch of them because it's like didn't want to give the whole story away. There's some pretty horrific things that I put in here that even my jaded comic book artist friends said, I've never seen anything like that. So I'm not trying to bait anybody, but think of A Man Called Horse. Remember that movie with Richard Harrison in and strung the guy out by his pectorals? So I got that one of the ideas out from that movie, but I did my own modification to it. So anyway, hold on. So we're gonna go, and here's a scene where basically there's a van that dumps basically a body out, and that's Diane. She's all pretty much beat up, and these Good Samaritans find her a few hours later. She's barely alive, and she had a pretty bad head injury that required craniotomy. So she's kind of messed up. She's very messed up. And so there's a good doctor. Doctor name is Dr. Wang, Kelly Wang. And so we have her introduce herself. She's very professional. Look, I want to help you get better. Let me do all these experimental things to help your muscles come back, and nutrition and physical therapy. Let's do all the good stuff for you. So you could see here, she gets rehabilitated, stronger and stronger. She's just incredibly, incredibly fit. And oh, look at that. She's just amazing specimen. And then the doctor does a exam on her. Did not show it. Yeah. Oh wait, this kind of exam. And then there's the stuff. Yeah, we have other graphic things that are going on, and okay, I'm skipped all the nudity. And again, now Diane has convinced Kelly to go on the dark web and use her. She turned out Kelly was worked for the military in intelligence, and some of her friends worked at CIA, so they were able to kind of use use the network to be able to seek out the villains who basically did Diane wrong. And they were able to find them, and they're hiding out in their warehouse where they're doing bad things to another victim of theirs. So they were able to use a special kind of knockout, gas versus tear gas. And here they are, these guys are being all gassed out and knocked unconscious. So I can't show you everything, but she's definitely going to get revenge on these guys. And what happens later, I didn't show the whole thing, but she hits a baseball bat and knocks them all out and beats them up, kills them. And there's a gag joke that happens at the end, which I'm going to show you guys. but it is the accumulation of the comic book, and what I really wanted to do. What I really wanted to do was to show that you could take a story, flip it all the way around to the original story, and people would not expect what I threw at the end at all. And I, ever since I was a little kid, I liked shocking people. So maybe this is it. As an adult, I pretty much still do the same things, except I do it through comic books versus, well, actually, I still say weird stuff comes out of my mouth all the time. Yeah, as you guys know very well. And so, I've definitely enjoyed doing Annabelle and the Cannibal, and as well as Vengeance Vixen. And Vengeance Vixen, again, is more serious. There's nothing funny about it unless you're really into the dark humor of everything. And I certainly broke a lot of rules with this whole comic book. And I did check out, I asked some of my friends ahead of time, what do you think of this happened? And male and female, so nobody was left out. And Annabelle and Cannibal seemed to get a green light over all the little things I was going to throw in. But Vengeance Vixen was different. I mean, I put a little bit too much gratuitous sexual imagery. I think not only did my girlfriend, who's actually very open-minded, not appreciate it, and then I don't think my comic book artists are all, Bible Belt thumpers. But anyway, I don't think they're that conservative either. And Jeremiah, who I respect very much, told me that 95% of society is not going to like any of those 2 pages you did. They're not going to like it. And since I want to kind of really get the comic book out there to a broader audience, I thought that I better take both of their advice seriously. And so what I did was I deleted 2 whole pages out of Vengeance Vixen. It's painful because I really wanted to have everybody see the whole thing and transpire, but it was unnecessary. And I think the person who probably got his feelings hurt the most was Manuel Martinez. A little bit of maybe Zach, because they had put a lot of work into the artwork and the coloring. And Jeremiah, I'd also done, he'd already put in the copy and the word boxes and the captions. But he felt strong enough to tell me, yeah, I don't think it's a good idea, Alan, to do this. And Jeremiah, thank you, because you were like between my girlfriend and Jeremiah. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get rid of it. And so thank you guys. I hope the comic book comes out better as a result. And of course, the entrepreneur in me says, I'll sell the whole version for 3 times more to get the other 5%. But I don't know. That was me just talking. Anyway, okay, so I'm open to some questions, and looking forward to answering them. I can just keep talking away. I've got some other things I can talk about as far as just the art that went into it and storyboards. Storyboarding, as you know, any of this kind of stories. Sorry, it's repetitious. But when you come up with these images and you want to make sure that the audience kind of follows with what is happening in the story. And I should just show you that. And when we go back to and you can actually see, Zach almost followed my storyboards to the T. So you could see where, the guy's in the shadows and he's running back over there. But the storyboards look almost exactly like this. Not quite like, well, maybe a little bit like this one, but Zach added the pile of chopped up pieces. And then Zach followed pretty much, my storyboards here as well. Really did a great job. And so that's the other thing, is that if you have respect between two people and they already have a kind of a workflow going, it doesn't take a whole lot of me talking to Zach a lot to do stuff. And he can tell you very much that I don't go back and correct people a lot. There's no need to do that. I've worked with Zach now for 2 years, and it's just easy. Manuel, now he and I have a workflow going, and I talked to the artist. I said, "What do you need from me as the writer, as a storyboardist? What do you need from me?" And so now we're finding out that every people are pretty accommodating. So Zach. But he actually preferred, and every artist prefers, that if I can do storyboards, great, but they want a description of every single panel, just a word description of what's supposed to go in that panel. And then what I need to do is I need to leave them alone. And nobody wants to be micromanaged. I don't like to be micromanaged. So why would I want to do that to established artists who already know their stuff? It's ridiculous. I mean, people who micromanage other people who are already good at what they do, mainly that's the insecurity that comes from you going on to them. You have to trust people. Someone asked me, how can you manage a physical therapy business, and even in COVID, how can you manage a business and bring it back to life? And how do you write music and then record and put all these websites together? How do you do all that stuff? I'll be honest with you. I have a great team of people, and I trust them. I have to trust other people to do their job. And have I gotten screwed? Yes, of course you're going to get screwed every now and then. But for the most part, everyone is incredibly responsible. And I've gotten better and better at picking the right people to help me. Sometimes you really have to look at the source of the referral. Zach has given me great referrals. And then sometimes you interview and you find out maybe their art's really good, but they're not clicking with you personally. And I have a very personal relationship with everybody I work with and for, and if they're working with me, because the collaboration, it has to feel magical. It has to feel very personal. A lot of love, a lot of respect, and then it's just great. Let's see, I got some questions here. Where do I derive my dialogue? Sometimes when I come up with a dialogue, I'm actually making fun of a lot of stuff. Actually, there's if I was to read some of the dialogue, I'll read some of the dialogue. So I'll read the dialogue that Annabelle and Wallace are having at the store, at the grocery store. And it's funny. She goes, so when she runs into Wallace, she goes, "You look like you're quite familiar with the selection here. Can you make some suggestions?" She goes, "My name is Annabelle." And he goes, "Wallace, pleased to meet you." And Wallace is totally smitten. This is a caption. "She is a visual delight, amazing eyes that pierced into his soul, a smile that lifted his spirits. Her erect, protuberant nipples that seemed to indicate some kind of visceral excitement. Her deep camel toe, thanks to her yoga pants fashion and fit, and her own physical attributes." This is stupid stuff, but it's funny. Her strong, shapely, muscular calves that suggested a ballet background, or that she pointed her toes during sex and orgasms. I mean, is this Pulitzer-winning material? Maybe. No, of course not. But it doesn't matter. I come up with dialogue, come up with captions. It's just me just being free about any kind of thing I want to write. So I write these things pretty quickly. It's when I do the copy, and you can ask Jeremiah. Jeremiah would tell you, I go, "Oh, I haven't done the copy yet." He goes, when can you get it done? Then all of a sudden, like, an hour later, it's finished. I just write things really, really fast. Unfortunately, sometimes I write it too fast. There's a lot of grammatical errors to go back and clean up. But what I want to do is it wants to be spontaneous and unrehearsed. So I just try to get out there as fast as I can. So yeah. Do I ever get actors or friends together to read the comic book out loud? The pizza and sausage party. I think that's a great question, Pat. I actually enjoy. The only people who proofread my stuff is probably Jeremiah. He really does some proofreading, and also I had another editor, Elizabeth Bergen, and she was really good too. But it's just sometimes you go through editors, and yeah. So I think some people modify my dialogue, which makes it better, and then sometimes it's about just making sure that there's no grammatical errors in the dialogue itself. So yeah, but I have. The dialogue is, I do read the dialogue out loud because I was, one of my other editors, Gino Piper Ferrara, told me, you better read everything out loud, make sure it flows, it sounds right. So I do read everything out loud. I'll just type it up and I read it and I actually say it out loud to make sure it sounds right. So, yeah. So let's see, we have another 30 whole minutes to go talk about maybe the future of Annabelle and the Cannibal. And yesterday, I guess Eric Reynolds, who's my webmaster, said, this would be a great adult cartoon, like in I guess Adult Swim. It'd be really fun to have it into a cartoon, and I think he's absolutely right. I have a lot of ideas for all the other series to do, and it all goes, and people love food, so this could all go around food subjects, and going vegetarian if you're a cannibal, and what things that what goes better with different kinds of human flesh. I mean, people would argue over stuff. People argue over food. It's amazing what people do about food. And so we could do all sorts of really, I would say, clever things around cannibalism. And of course, I'm not trying to promote cannibalism. I hope people, and there will be some people out there who are saying that I'm a bad influence on society, and oh my God, cannibalism is bad. And cannibalism is a lifestyle that some people, some cultures had, and okay, so it's uncool now. But look at this. We might be resorting to cannibalism with COVID. Food sources run out, so plenty of people. But I'm sorry, should have said that. Okay, so so I think exploring those themes are pretty cool. About how do I get back into the having a multiple series of different things about Wallace and his cannibalism, and how is he going to hide that. Now, speaking of bad habits or secrets, I think everybody has a few of them, and poor Wallace, you think about it, he has to hide this from Annabelle. And think about how hard it is for basically a guy who's kind of a serial killer who probably has a giant refrigerator with all these body parts. How's he going to hide that secret from her? And if he really, really loves her, you think he'd probably come out and just tell her one day. And I'm thinking of a comic book like that, where it's all about relationships and being honest and truthful, and discovering each other. And I think that's what the Annabelle and the Cannibal is going to turn into, is this thing about him really, really falling in love with her and really becoming not such a crazed person and trying to become a better person. And I think that's how I'm going to develop the story. And I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it because I think, relationships are very hard. Marriages are even harder. And you're scared to reveal everything that you are to that person. But when you do and they're still around, it's kind of cool. And I hope that, that I can have that kind of relationship where basically the person loves me for everything that I am and vice versa. Isn't that nice? We would all love that. And so that's kind of where this Annabelle the Cannibal thing is going, is how are those two going to be able to stick it out together? Yeah. So Vengeance Vixen, that's more hardcore as far as just the whole, the story about how relationships that are based on, violence, how a person who has to get over a violent act that happened to them, how can they recover from that kind of trauma? And does she continue to have to relive it? And then does she transfer her anger and her trauma onto other people that she comes into contact with, even people who love her and people who care about her? Does she just dump on them? And that's another psychology thing, just like, can you rise above it all? So I think there's going to be a series where Vengeance Vixens continue to kind of pop up in the Wallace series, where she's trying to recover from this the violent thing that happened to her, and how does she recover from it, and is she able to recover from it? So yeah, it's kind of deep stuff. I gotta talk to my psychotherapist friends to see if they have any clues to give me on that one. But yeah, so yeah, we explored the themes. Thank you, Beth. It's a good one. We explored the themes between love and lust. So whether the lust, which is kind of an interesting thing, not always positive, coming from the attackers, or coming from two people who are trying to explore both emotions. I think that's kind of an interesting thing. Is it good to have both? I think so. I think it's good to have both. I think that makes the relationship take on a whole different level if you can maintain both at a certain intensity. I think if you're talking about certain kinds of love, like the functional love that someone has for their family, like for my children, that's a love that's about parent to child, and that's not sexual. That's not lust. It's love. It's how you're going to protect them. It's protectiveness. There's all this other kinder, benevolent feelings you have. Lust is there's an aggression involved in it. There's fantasy. There's all this other stuff that it's not bad until someone gets hurt. So yeah, I think exploring those things, those themes, I think in Annabelle the Cannibal and Vengeance Vixen, I think that's a really good thing to kind of start working on. And yeah, I can't wait till the second issue, because I've definitely have a bunch of ideas. So that's the meat cleaver. So without being too racist, the meat cleaver is about, you ever always tell the Chinese butcher and the old Chinese grandma just got that big old Asian meat cleaver? That's the meat cleaver. And I'm not sure Zach Atkinson came up with that, or I came up with that, but I think Zach might have came up with that. But Zach's not a racist, but he definitely knows about big meat cleavers. And butchers have them, and so do a whole bunch of old Chinese people. They have that cleaver. And my mom has one of these things, and I was like, Mom, this thing is sharp. Why is this thing so sharp? And she took out this piece of leather. She had a smile on her face. She goes, this is how I keep it sharp. And I'm like, That is why policemen shoot to kill old Asian ladies waving that meat cleaver. Because you get touched by that thing, that artery, you'll be blowing, you'll be squirting all the blood out. You'll be dead in minutes. That cleaver is so sharp. So that's the story behind the meat cleaver. Let's see if I could go in further into some of the disturbing things about where I get my weird ideas from. And my ideas actually come from my interactions with people. And some of the interactions, people tell me their stories all the time. I come into contact, or I used to come into contact with thousands of people every year. And that's me as a physical therapist, through many contacts through the creative industry. And I learned that there's a lot of trauma out there, drama. Yeah. And, some of it, when you hear the stories, actually kind of horrifying, but people seem to be able to, some of them cope with the story, their stories in a very interesting way, where they turn it into something else. So maybe some of the stories I have are some of the stories I've been told. They're like, blended over with 10 other stories, so they virtually can't recognize really what's going on, or and some of the stories are just totally weird make-believe stuff. I just kind of came out of my head, or I extrapolated something from another movie and I put it into this thing and added some other, incident. I'm trying to be vague about it because I don't want to get too much into some of the really horrific things. I storyboarded for Manuel to draw. And as you can see, the one for the shooting all the endangered species. I mean, I had a lot of fun with that because I have total respect for preserving wildlife, whales, everything, you name it, platypus. I get it. We should not destroy all the species on our planet. We need them. But comes to a point where, our focus is so much on preservation, we forget that, we might be working on birth control, so there's not so many people, or educating people about the fact that our planet can only hold 2 billion people. So somebody said this planet can only sustain 2 billion humanoids, and we're like 7 billion humanoids. You'll see me talk about genocide in Genesis 2, where I talk about where too many people and let's go wipe a bunch of people out and start over again. And that's not what I believe in, by the way. That's just I think some people think that there's too many people and we need to start over or do something different. And maybe like Elon Musk has we need to go to other planets, inhabit other worlds. Very expensive way to move population around. That's how come some other people just kill other people, because it's easy just to push them into the ground. So pretty grim thoughts. Sorry, but it's we do have a lot of things we have to worry about now, and population control is probably going to be a real thing, because looks like we're going to run out of resources pretty soon, because we're certainly running out of them right now, and it's something to address. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to start doing some push-ups now. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to answer more questions. And again, I can show a couple of more things out of here. Oops. Some more dialogue that's silly. So I can read it out from here. Let's see if we can get this. So, yeah, you could say Wallace is suggesting they're grass-fed, hormone-free filet mignon, or their New Zealand salmon, but everything in their selection I've cooked in many different manners. And she goes, well, you don't say, let me look closer. And he goes, you won't be disappointed. I've never felt this way about anything or anybody except, and he goes, I must taste her flesh. So then the drooling starts, and she goes, this cut looks really good. And he goes, yes, indeed. So, yes, indeed. So anyway, so coming up with some pretty silly panels of silly conversation. That's all part of making it funny. And someone says, that's misogynistic and you're, making women objects. I said, get over yourself. Women make men objects too. It's a two-way street. And then men make men objects. I said, women make women objects. I've seen it all over the place. And when people get holier than thou and they start saying that we shouldn't do that stuff, I mean, people do it all the time. They just don't say anything. So, or they're thinking it, but they're not saying it. So maybe that's the thing, is that what's nice about doing comic book is that could it be social commentary? Could it be political? Could it, could it be serious? Well, it is a comic book, and that's the other thing. It's meant to be a parody. It's meant to poke fun at things. I think if we get too serious about everything, and then you take just the fun out of everything, you can't make fun of anything anymore because it's cruel. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, no one's having any fun. Everybody's all serious about stuff, and people can't say anything, and everybody's all pent up. I don't think that shouldn't be the way to go. I think we should be polite. I get it, but I'm sure when my friends and I get together and nobody else is around, no one wants to be in that room when we're going crazy. So, okay. So where can we find these comic books? Right here, GenSevenComics.com. You guys can buy it off the store. I just want to let you know, Zach, Jeremiah, and I came screeching in to Comic-Con 2020 at home, barely getting in a lot of the comics that you guys saw. We just finished, I think, Annabelle probably a couple of weeks ago, and then the Undefeated #3, as well as The Rescuer, this guy. We just finished that probably on Tuesday, maybe Tuesday night, and then it got on Wednesday. I think Comic-Con went live. And Comic-Con actually went live earlier than that with their exhibit hall. So we were actually kind of a little bit late to the party, but not too late, because no one's buying a comic book or even seen it yet. So hopefully that's going to happen. And thank you, Last Stand Dodge. Yes, humor is even more important now than it ever was. I mean, between Black Lives Matter, as well as the Me Too movement, and then COVID-19. All these things are just they're pretty grim, and because it also brings up a lot of personal things for me. Being a minority, I'm not making a big deal about it. Believe me, I'm a banana. For those of you who don't know what a banana is, yellow on the outside, white on the inside, but I'm not even white on the inside. I'm probably more like some other kind of colors, because I was raised in the Iron Triangle of Richmond, California. And if you guys know what the Iron Triangle of Richmond of California is, it is like the highest crime area in Richmond. And I first 5-6 years of my life, I grew up there. So just want to let everybody know that you don't know where people come from, and so I never made a big deal about racism. Matter of fact, I think I make fun of racism half the time because I'd rather be laughing than crying about it. And unfortunately, when it means that people are being judged and killed unnecessarily, then it gets kind of weird. And so, yeah, then it's unacceptable for people to be judged that way. So, yeah. Last stand, Josh, thank you very much. Did Annabelle character show up at Comic-Con? We didn't actually. The actress who was the muse for Annabelle, she was actually in Comic-Con last year as Lisa. So she wore the Lisa cyborg outfit, and that was pretty cool. And so if you get on the Genesis2Comics.com website, you'll see some pictures of her, an interview of her when she was in there. Yeah, again, she's a very classy woman, and she is definitely a real trooper. And I'm glad to be supporting her in her career to become the real deal in Hollywood. She's already won an acting award already from a short film festival, so she's on her way. Yeah. But yeah, I can talk a little bit more about about Batil, but again, the Annabelle character just showed up now. This is all brand new. I did not start actually working on her. Zach and I didn't start working on her until much, I think, probably after Comic-Con 2019. So yeah, any more questions? We got 9 more minutes. So I'm waiting for the questions. Oh, so sorry, this wasn't so sci-fi-ish. I go. If you guys ever listen to my music, I bounce around a lot of my different genres of music also. So I don't stick with any one genre. I can go electronic to almost country to pop music and disco. I do all that stuff. And the same thing with comic books. I can go from sci-fi to comedy, horror, and I like to explore all the different themes in comics. Because when I would buy comic books, I would look at the funny stuff like Mad Magazine, and I would check out, eerie and creepy magazines, and then of course there's heavy metal. I love heavy metal, and then of course I would have the Marvel comic books, and then DC, and some of the Frank Miller stuff as it got older. Then Aliens versus Predator. So all those genres are just, for me, it was just like eye candy, and I just, wow, this is cool. I can get kind of lost in the imagery as well as some of the action that I saw, which is really incredible. My favorite comic book growing up was the Hulk. Anything with the Hulk, loved the Hulk, because the Hulk could just destroy stuff when he got mad, just threw a fit. It's like the perfect thing. I mean, I could never do that. I was raised Chinese, and we don't throw fits and scream and break things. It's just not the way. So I did not. No, yeah, I love the Hulk. Hulk was just great. Doc Bruce Banner turned into a green rage monster. Doesn't get better than that. So yeah, Hulk is the best. So yeah, that's my favorite of all the characters. And Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man's cool. I mean, I like Spider-Man as well. Nothing wrong with Spider-Man. And a very relatable character. My favorite artist. Someone asked me who my favorite. I love my artists that I work with right now. They're my favorites right now. But maybe before I started doing my own comic books, it was Richard Corbin, and then there was Alfredo Alcala, who's a Filipino artist. He did some great artwork. And then I can't think of anybody. Maybe Gene Colan. His art was so real. And Bernie Wrightson. So there are some really, really great artists out there. But now my favorite artists are the artists I work with. So yeah, I'm biased. Favorite type for comic bubbles? Oh, I like the big caps, just caps, straight on caps, bold. But it's okay to do the little typeset ones. Those are cool too. Yeah, my Jeremiah and Lambert and John Hageman are my letters for all my comic books. Both of them are great artists also in their own right. And John Hageman has a very stylized way of doing things, and he does the Charlie and Humphrey comic book series. Cool little niche. But he's a great painter too. John's a great painter. To have a specific way I like to lay out my pages. The way I lay out my pages sometimes has to do with the way I want to tell the story. As you can see, where sometimes I have like 9 little panels, and then sometimes we have like a big splash page, and then sometimes we have an asymmetric look to the panels where it's not all. Let me look here. It's not all symmetrical. I think with the Annabelle ones, I kept it pretty symmetrical. Yeah. But if you can see, sorry, I let the artist sometimes decide what to do. Yeah, and here's Manuel. He came up his own way of doing the panel sizes. So again, sometimes what is the story? Oops, what is the story? What is the story? Whoa! What is the story? How are you going to give the audience kind of the following through the maze of images? How do you want to promote that? Do you want it to make it look very, very formal? And sometimes I want it to be really clean. I don't want their eyes to wander too much. I want them to be, it's a very clean thing. And then sometimes if there's a lot of disturbing action going on where you're moving back and forth, then you can have a lot of asymmetry to the panels. And but I really like it to be kind of clean. Very good question. My folks, last stand, Doc. My folks basically do a combination of. I think Manny does it out of his head, for the most part. I think Zach does it out of his head, or he uses some references. Nate Van Dyke definitely. I think he does both. He likes models better. He wants real models, and I did some modeling and when my current girlfriend, she and I did modeling for him, and he really appreciated that because, okay, can you guys do this pose, or you can do that pose, and he can get a better perspective. So when he's drawing, he gets that extra creative spark to draw what he has witnessed. So he prefers actual models. But yeah. Okay, and so I think we are closing up pretty soon. And if anybody wants the last minute, oh, here we go. Do you have characters made into Doctor 3D? The current slew of characters right now, they're not. We don't have them in any kind of 3D software. Not yet. I think I'm going to leave that up to some Hollywood person or some studio or person who really wants to kind of turn it into something that that's an enhancement of what it is right now. So once I go large, or if I go large, it'd be great to see that that happen, and it'd be really exciting. But yeah, I'm hoping this will happen. I mean, I'm certainly put in the effort for it. But okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope this was fun. This is what this presentation was the most fun one I've ever done so far out of the 3 streams. Yesterday was probably way too long, overscheduled, but definitely today was great. And again, I want to thank everyone for showing up and for watching a little bit. Again, tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm taking the day off of live streaming. But Sunday I'll be back, and I'm going to be doing 2 live streams, one on the Rescuer and going over most of the panels and the stories behind that, always skipping the last page. But and then also talking about collaborations in Hollywood and how I did not take the fast track or the shortcut, honestly. I was fortunate to have friends who I had made on some of the shows and that I've been on, and also not been on, but helped on. And then Batil, who actually introduced me to Ephraim Walker, who we now we're great friends, and we're working on some collaborations, which I've been given permission to show, and so I would love to talk about all the graphic novels that I'm going to be working on soon. So anyway, okay, so you guys have a great night. Thanks for using your Friday to kind of watch me talk, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. And I'll hopefully see you guys on Sunday. Thank you.